Okay, welcome everybody. Hare Krishna. I hope you're having a very nice Monday. Hope your start to the week was good. We're here for our Bhagavad Gita happy hour. We're going to be continuing on chapter 6. And Hare Krishna Balabhadra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna all the devotees.
Humble obeisances, Prabhu.
Dive in your
Hare
valley.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
How was your Gaur Purnima festival, Balabhadra Prabhu?
Oh, mine was nice. It's very simple. We just went to a devotee's house and had some kirtans. Read
Yes.
Chaitanya Charitamrita, very sweet. And went to see the deities at the temple. So beautiful. So
Wonderful to hear.
I heard you had an ecstatic program there.
Yeah, we had. I mean, we tried to do the best we could. You know, in the pandemic, it's like all bets are off. You don't know what's going to happen. But we trying to do things and broadcast them online. You're not too sure how the quality's coming through, and then trying to do the program in the temple as well. But we did it. We offered our best, I think, from what we had to the Lord.
It was wonderful. I enjoyed from here.
We said, nice.
Good.
They all
Glad to hear.
acted too. There is small play, little play too.
We got
It was very good.
Mother Renika, which that's a good sign.
Haribo, Mother Renika.
And then we went on Sankirtan. You should have seen us out on Sankirtan. Mother Renika.
Wow.
That also I saw.
Really inspired. You saw it on.
Because of Redka.
we had we actually broadcasted it on Facebook Live, but we had a little time kind of doing it, and we had the rotation wrong, so it was a little sideways. But we were out there. It was Rittenhouse Square was packed with people. I don't think I've seen Rittenhouse Square with that many people on before.
Wow.
And but it was very, very nice, very sweet. As we're coming out of this pandemic, I think we showed some potential and got the what they call it, get the the taste buds are watering a little bit, getting that taste of wanting to go out and do some Sankirtan. Devoted distribution. It was very, very sweet and uplifting.
Last time I was.
That was the highlight of my weekend.
Very nice.
Last
Okay.
time.
All right, so let's get into it. Balabhadra Prabhu, it's all yours.
Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharani Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Destarne Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Go Bhaktavinda Ki Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 text 33. Arjuna Uvacha Yo Yam Yogas Tvaya Proktaha Samyena Madhusudana Etasyaham Napashyami Chanchalatvat Stitim Stiram. Arjuna said, O Madhusudan, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me. For the mind is restless and unsteady. Purport. The system of mysticism described by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, beginning with the words Saucha, Suchau, Deshe, and ending with Yogi Parama, is here being rejected by Arjuna out of a feeling of inability. It is not possible for an ordinary man to leave home and go to a secluded place in the mountains or jungles to practice yoga in this age of Kali. The present age is characterized by a bitter struggle for a life of short duration. People are not serious about self-realization, even by simple, practical means. And what to speak of this difficult yoga system, which regulates the mode of living, the manner of sitting, selection of place, and detachment of the mind from material engagements. As a practical man, Arjuna thought it was impossible to follow this system of yoga, even though he was favorably endowed in many ways. He belonged to the royal family and was highly elevated in terms of numerous qualities. He was a great warrior. He had great longevity. And above all, he was the most intimate friend of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 5,000 years ago, Arjuna had much better facilities than we do now. Yet, he refused to accept this system of yoga. In fact, we do not find any record in history of his practicing it at any time. Therefore, this system must be considered generally impossible in his age of Kali. Of course, it may be possible for some very few rare men, but for the people in general, it is an impossible proposal. If this were so 5,000 years ago, then what of the present day? Those who are imitating this yoga system in different so-called schools and societies, although complacent, are certainly wasting their time. They are completely in ignorance of the desired goal. Text 34, Chanchalam hi manaha Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nirgaham manye vayur iva suduskuram. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. Report, the mind is so strong and obstinate that it sometimes overcomes the intelligence, although the mind is supposed to be subservient to the intelligence. For a man in the practical world who has to fight so many opposing elements, it is certainly very difficult to control the mind. Artificially, one may establish a mental equilibrium toward both friend and enemy, but ultimately, no worldly man can do so. For this is more difficult than controlling the raging wind. In the Vedic literature, Katha Upanishad 133-4, it is said, Atmanam nuratinam vidhi, sariram nuratameva buddhim tu saritim vidhi, mana pragraham evacha. Indriyani hayan ahur, vishayams teshu gocharan, admindriya mano yuktam, bhokte yahur manishina. The individual is the passenger in the car of the material body, and intelligence is the driver. Mind is the driving instrument, and the senses are the horses. The self is thus the enjoyer or sufferer in the association of the mind and senses. So it is understood by great thinkers. Intelligence is supposed to direct the mind, but the mind is so strong and obstinate that it often overcomes even one's own intelligence, as an acute infection may surpass the efficacy of medicine. Such a strong mind is supposed to be controlled by the practice of yoga, but such practice is never practical for a worldly person like Arjuna. And what can we say of modern man? The simile used here is appropriate. One cannot capture the blowing wind, and it is even more difficult to capture the turbulent mind. The easiest way to control the mind, as suggested by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I put that in myself, in chanting Hare Krishna, the great mantra for deliverance in all humility. The method prescribed is Savaimana Krishna Padaravindayo. One must engage one's mind fully in Krishna. Only then will there remain no other engagements to agitate the mind. Text 35. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Asamshayam Mahabhaho Mano Dhurnigraham Chalam Abhyasena Tukonteya Vairagyena Chagriyate. Lord Sri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Purport, the difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind as expressed by Arjuna is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the supersoul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional service to the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna. This is a very powerful and transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called paresanubhava, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. Text 36. Asamyatatmana yogo dusprapa iti me mati vasyat mana tu yatata shakyo vaptun upayata. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Purport: the Supreme Personality of Godhead declares that one who does not accept the proper treatment to detach the mind from material engagement can hardly achieve success in self-realization. Trying to practice yoga while engaging the mind in material enjoyment is like trying to ignite a fire while pouring water on it. Yoga practice without mental control is a waste of time. Such a show of yoga may be materially lucrative, but it is useless as far as spiritual realization is concerned. Therefore, one must control the mind by engaging it constantly in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Unless one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he cannot steadily control the mind. A Krishna conscious person easily achieves the result of yoga practice without separate endeavor. But a yoga practitioner cannot achieve success without becoming Krishna conscious. Text 37, Arjuna Uvacha Ayati Shraddhayo Peto Yogach Chalita Manasa Prapya Yoga Samsiddhim Kam Gatim Krishna Gachati. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? Purport: the path of self-realization or mysticism is described in the Bhagavad Gita. The basic principle of self-realization is knowledge that the living entity is not this material body, but that he is different from it, and that his happiness is in eternal life, bliss, and knowledge. These are transcendental beyond both body and mind. Self-realization is sought by the path of knowledge. by the practice of the Eightfold System or by Bhakti Yoga. In each of these processes, one has to realize the constitutional position of the living entity, his relationship with God, and the activities whereby he can establish the lost link and achieve the highest perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness. Following any of the above mentioned three methods, one is sure to reach the supreme goal sooner or later. This was asserted by the Lord in the second chapter. Even a little endeavor in the transcendental path, on the transcendental path, offers a great hope for deliverance. Out of these three methods, the path of Bhakti Yoga is especially suitable for this age because it is the most direct method of God realization. To be doubly assured, Arjuna is asking Lord Krishna to confirm his former statement. One may sincerely accept the path of self-realization, but the process of cultivation of knowledge and the practice of the Eightfold Yoga system are generally very difficult for this age. Therefore, despite constant endeavor, one may fail for many reasons. First of all, one may not be sufficiently serious about following the process. To pursue the transcendental path is more or less to declare war on the illusory energy. Consequently, whenever a person tries to escape the clutches of the illusory energy, she tries to defeat the practitioner by various allurements. A conditioned soul is already allured by the modes of material energy, and there is every chance of being allured again, even while performing transcendental disciplines. This is called yogach chalita manasa, deviation from the transcendental path. Arjuna is inquisitive to know the results of deviation from the path of self-realization. Text 38. Kachinnubhaya nibrastas chinnabhram iva nasuti apraptisto mahabaho vimudho brahmanapati. O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere? Report, there are two ways to progress. Those who are materialists have no interest in transcendence. Therefore, they are more interested in material advancement by economic development or in promotion to the higher planets by appropriate work. When one takes to the path of transcendence, one has to cease all material activities and sacrifice all forms of so-called material happiness. If the aspiring transcendentalist fails, then he apparently loses both ways. In other words, he can enjoy neither material happiness nor spiritual success. He has no position. He is like a riven cloud. A cloud in the sky becomes deviate. The cloud in the sky sometimes deviates from a small cloud and joins a big one. But if it cannot join a big one, then it is blown away by the wind and becomes a non-entity in the vast sky. The Brahmanapati is the path of transcendental realization through knowing oneself to be spiritual in essence. Through knowing oneself to be spiritual in essence, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, who is manifested as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. Lord Shri Krishna is the fullest manifestation of the Supreme Absolute Truth, and therefore one who is surrendered to the Supreme Person is a successful transcendentalist. To reach this goal of life through Brahman and Paramatma realization takes many, many births. Bahunam janmanan ante. Therefore, the supermost path of transcendental realization is Bhakti Yoga, or Krishna consciousness, the direct method. Text 39. Etan me samsayam Krishna chetum arhasya seshata twaranya samsayasyasya chetana upapajyate. This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. Purport. Krishna is the perfect knower of past, present, and future. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord said that all living entities existed individually in the past. They exist now in the present, and they continue to retain individual identity in the future, even after liberation from the material entanglement. So he has already cleared up the question of the future of the individual living entity. Now, Arjuna wants to know of the future of the unsuccessful transcendentalist. No one is equal to or above Krishna, and certainly the so-called great sages and philosophers who are at the mercy of the material nature cannot equal him. Therefore, the verdict of Krishna is the final and complete answer to all doubts, because he knows past, present, and future perfectly. But no one knows him. Krishna and Krishna conscious devotees alone can know what is what. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Bhadra Prabhu.
Thank you.
We can take questions. I wanted to go real quick to the beginning, text number 34.
Okay.
So Prabhupada makes the comment in the purport. He says, artificially, one may establish a mental equilibrium towards both friend and enemy, but ultimately, no worldly man can do so, for this is more difficult than controlling the raging wind. So this artificial mental equilibrium that we try to create, could you speak a little bit on that and how it applies?
Yeah, it's more or less, it's an analysis of what our modern society is trying to do, especially with regards to like the racial issues, the gender issues, and things of that nature. They try to come up with schemes and processes to help us. And in fact, they have these training courses, diversity training and so many things, trying to adjust the mind to seeing it. But without understanding the spirit soul and the spirit soul's relationship to the Supreme and understanding Supreme, then there's no hope of achieving that. Because real peace, Bhoktaram Jagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatvam Man Shantam Richati. So to get that shanti, that peace, that Prabhupada is using that word equilibrium, it's a very powerful word. So to have that, which is similar to equal vision, they want to have equal vision, but they're trying to see it through a mundane lens. And they're using all these adjustments of the mind, mental equilibrium. So the real point is to understand the truth. What is what? He said at the end of the last verse, what did he say? Yeah, only Krishna, but no one but knows him. Krishna and Krishna conscious devotees alone can know what is what. So we're all fortunate because we know what is what if we choose to accept it as the principle guiding our lives. Okay, we know it, we read it, we have it all in front of us, but have we applied it? Jnana, Vijnana, Astikyam. So we have all this knowledge, and even we have difficulty dealing with this issue of seeing things in the proper way. So the learned and gentle Brahmana sees with equal vision, cow, dog eater, like that. How does he see? Because he has knowledge. And Srila Prabhupada also refers it in this discussion we just had, or what we just read. He talks about the Brahmana, the vision, being able to see things properly. And that's the advantage that we have with this Krishna consciousness. We can actually see and know what is what. So the general society are trying to use this principle that Srila Prabhupada talks about. Artificially, one may establish a mental equilibrium toward friend and enemy, but still, that person is still my enemy. That person still is not my friend necessarily, because I don't know who the person is. And Srila Prabhupada said it. That's the first lesson, the first principle. I spoke about this recently in an interview I did with a wonderful young Indian lady. Excuse me for using that term like that. She called herself a Hindu. So I gave her a simple example. I said, if you start with the equation, 1 + 1 = 4. I said, is that right or wrong? She went, that's wrong. I said, similarly, when you start with the equation that we are this body, everything else after that is wrong. She was like, oh, Eureka, I get it. And then she quoted me the next day. She said, I get it. I understand. We're starting out thinking we're this body. Everything after that is wrong. Yes. So that is the basic idea. Srila Prabhupada is so beautifully explaining that. This artificially establishing this mental equilibrium. You know, I don't see you as black. I don't see you as white, and then all that stuff. But I should see you as spirit soul. But someone asked me the other day, how does it feel to be in the minority? I said, what? I'm not in the minority. What are you talking about? I'm in the majority. I'm a spirit soul. I'm not a black man in the majority, and I'm sorry, minority group. No, I don't identify with that. I know that I have this African American body, but is this me? No. I speak from the spiritual platform that Srila Prabhupada has given us. So therefore, I don't have to artificially say, Drona, I don't see you as a Caucasian person. I don't. I see you as a spirit soul, devotee of Krishna. So beautiful. Prabhupada's given us so much vision. So thank you for that question.
Yeah. We have a question from Mother Vatsala, and then we have something in the chat after that.
Haribo, Mother Vatsala. You have a beautiful hand there raised up on the screen, but I don't see you. I think she may be on mute. Next question. Oh, there you are. Haribo.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I'm charging my cell phone, so I'm calling from that. So thank you, Prabhu. I have two-part questions. If you have time, please, you can answer, or I will save it for the next time.
Go for it.
First one is on the 38th verse, it says surrender. So when I say, when Prabhupada gives the explanation, is a surrender is a 9 process of devotion, or do we mean it also includes Prabhupada's saying for following the regulative principles? Because sometimes we may incorrectly understand surrender. I may think I'm surrendering, but things, if I really surrender to Krishna, then things should be happening. But I think sometimes we have a problem from our materialistic point of view. When we do something, we want something back, something like that. But in spirituality, it doesn't add up.
Yeah.
So I have a problem.
So that part of your question, which is when he refers to the 9 processes, those are the 9 processes that are described by Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Dashanam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So those are the 9 processes of devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada in here discussing it, he gives reference to the first part, which is Shravanam. Stress should be given to hearing. Sufficient hearing will inoculate us against the onslaught of Maya, which he also talked about, how Maya is coming and causing so many disturbances. But we should not forget that Maya is a devotee of Krishna. That is her job, to create this kind of disturbed situation so you can overcome that and become more of a strong devotee. So when he's saying there, Vatsal, is the 9 processes of devotional service. It would take more time than we have to get into each one of those, but the first one he talked about is Shravanam, which is hearing. That's the most important thing. If a devotee hears sufficiently, which may take a long time, it may take you years and years and years of just hearing. You have the funny way they said, you got 2 of these and 1 of these. So you should do twice as much of this and half as much with this. But we spend more talking than we do listening. That's why we have trouble. So if we hear more, Srinvata, Swakata, Krishna, help me out, Haryasya, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Hridyan Tatstosa Badrani, Vidunosi Saritsatam. Srinvata, Swakata Krishna, Punya Shravana, really auspicious, pure, clean hearing. We should become expert at hearing. So powerful. Am I right, Haryasya Prabhu? Is that right?
You know better than me.
So what's the second part of your question, Vatsal?
Prabhu, he said once we get the liberation or going back to Krishna or Vaikuntha, anywhere, liberation, so we are still going to remain as individual soul.
Yes.
And the soul doesn't have anything at all, it should be with Krishna. I don't get that part.
So I'm trying to dissect what you said. So say it again, a little bit less.
Okay, so we are going to be liberated, or
Yes.
after liberation, that's what I understood.
Yes.
And we still remain as individual, independent soul. How can that be?
How can that be? Because there's no other way to be. Because in order for us to be in a relationship of love with Krishna, you understand so far? We want to love Krishna. We don't want the other form of liberation, Mayavadi, impersonal, merge into the Supreme, become one with the Supreme. No. And in fact, the majority of these so-called philosophers, especially from India, they talk about this oneness. So we want that dual relationship. It requires independence. So I can tell Krishna, no, I don't want to serve you. So then when I say, yes, I want to serve you, it's more sweet. Or if it forces me to serve him, it's not as sweet. Prabhupada talks about this so much. You know, go back and read Chaitanya Charitamrita, especially the beginning part, especially, you know, Advent of Lord Chaitanya and all the different pastimes. And he talks about how Krishna likes to be told what to do. He doesn't like always everyone's, oh, you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I surrender because you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Oh, you're the Supreme Controller. That's not so nice for Krishna. He likes it when you personally, Vatsala, and I, and all of us here, even though our minds are dragging us away, we choose to serve Krishna. Why? Because we have that independence. And that's the only thing that you can keep. Going back to the spiritual world, you'll never lose your independence, because once the independence is gone, the love doesn't have the same flavor. You know, if you love someone, if someone knows that you love them, knowing that you have a choice that you don't have to love them, you have 10 other people you can love, but you love them, they go, wow, you love me in spite of all the people that you could have? Oh, I'm so happy. So Krishna's like that. He's so happy that you have chosen with your independence, Vatsala and me and all of us here, we have chosen to serve Krishna. And Krishna's even more happy when he sees that we have chosen to serve Srila Prabhupada. He is so happy then. Wow, we have so many other gurus and outside of ISKCON and all these acharyas and this and that, we can run behind them like anything. But we said, no. I just want to stay at the lotus feet of Prabhupada. And Krishna says, that is my devotee. You're so nice. I will help you. And Radharani says, yes, I'll help that devotee. Thank you very much for that question.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Jonah?
you for taking your time.
Hare Krishna. Okay, I think we're right at our time. I'd like to thank all the devotees for coming tonight. If you've enjoyed this reading of the Bhagavad Gita, we'll continue on both Monday and Friday. Also, I wanted to make a quick announcement and invite the devotees. I know a lot of you participate in the morning Srimad Bhagavatam classes, but we just started today. We went back to the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Evo.
So we're beginning a new journey, is one way to look at it. And there's no better time to start the journey than from the beginning. Then you don't miss out on anything. So we do class every morning, 7:50 to 8:30. Every morning, you may, if you're, it may be a lot for you. I understand. You may not be able to commit to every morning, but you have a choice of mornings to choose from. You know, we're there every day. Maybe you can commit to coming, try it once a week or twice a week, and see how it works for you. This particular Thursday, Balabhadra Prabhu will be the one giving class. So if you do want to try it out, you can start tomorrow, you can start Wednesday, but if you want to come Thursday as well, if you could only commit to a couple of days a week, that would be a great time to join in. All right, that's all from me.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Tomorrow I'm going to doctor. I don't know what time I should.
I'll have you in my heart praying for you.
10:30 is the appointment, a cardiologist appointment.
Take care.
So thank you very much for today's class.
Prayers like anything. You're fine. Send
I
in
will
prayers.
be fine. Krishna, everybody, devotees association.
Hey, Drona,
And this This Zoom is helping
Yeah.
me a lot, Prabhu. And
We'll go
low
back.
knowledge person, I don't have that much spiritual knowledge.
Wonderful.
But
Wonderful.
going back to Bhagavatam first canto, then first chapter, so it's helping me a lot for me.
Wonderful.
So
Thanks.
more and more I